In English program service, here are today's news. Communication Affairs Office issued a statement regarding allegations by Ethiopian authorities that the government of Tigray is hampering endeavors towards peace, emphasizing that the government and people of Tigray remain committed to negotiations as they have been since the start of the conflict. The Bureau statement read that it was the fact that the Ethiopian government has failed to demonstrate its commitment towards peace as it continues to blockade on vital services and works to politicize humanitarian operations. Earlier this week, State Minister for Ethiopia's Communication Services, Kebede Desisa, had accused the government of Tigray of failing to reciprocate peace efforts. Ethiopian government bodies, including its Ministry of Foreign Affairs, have in the past weeks issued a statement that contained unsubstantiated allegations against the government of Tigray and its ruling party. Meanwhile, our reporter Abel Tsagabu had a brief stay with the head of Bureau, Radai Halafom, this afternoon. Radai denounced the statement by the Deputy Minister and said the Ethiopian government was in fact the one hampering peace efforts by continuing to withhold basic services, and Amhara and Eritrean forces continue to commit atrocities in western Tigray.
The allegation says that TPLF, that is to mean the government of Tigray or the people of Tigray, they collectively call us TPLF, is hindering the dialogue. After all, the dialogue is our own initiative. Even before the declaration of the genocidal war against Tigray, we were urging to have a peaceful solution to the differences. Even we urge the federal government, that is the Prosperity Party-led government, to protect the constitution. And we repeatedly demand our constitutional rights. In all the way through, we initiated the peaceful dialogue. We demand the international community, we demand all relevant stakeholders, we demand the Ethiopian government, we demand the Ethiopian people and the Ethiopian nations and nationalities to push the government to protect the constitution and constitutional order. This stand, our stand, is not just a new stand. It has been there in its place before the declaration of the war. It has been there even during the war. It has been there even after the war, all the way through. And the allegation says the PLF is not taking practical measures to fulfill these demands. The issue is otherwise. We have been doing every effort to facilitate this peaceful dialogue. We have been doing or addressing every issues that are demanded from our side. For instance, I can mention we just returned back from Semen Shoa or the Northern Shoa. We were almost close to Addis Ababa. And we explained by that time, that it was decided by the government of Tigray to give peace a chance. Later, we also withdrew our forces from Amhara and the Afar region, and that was for the same reason. We set some priorities, some preconditions that must be addressed by the central government. Some of these are just unlocking the siege, with the people of Tigray had denied access to electricity, denied access to internet, denied access to banking, denied to almost every service, including roads. They all are closed and blocked. We demand the central government to unlock these issues. Yet none of them is addressed. We demand the federal government to withdraw all armed forces from the entire territory of Tigray, including the Amhara militia, the Sha'biya, which are foreign invaders. But Abiy didn't take any action on these issues. We demand unfettered humanitarian access to Tigray. But Abiy did nothing even to this. So the allegation against the government of Tigray is unfounded, as I said. It is Abiy and its government that hampers the dialogue. It is Abiy who failed to fulfill some of the requirements, or even one of the requirements yet. So it doesn't have any moral ground to accuse us.
The bureau head also said the international community is emboldening Abiy Ahmed's government as it continues to commit blatant violations of international human rights law and principles, further emboldening authorities to weaponize aid and withhold basic services to the region, and said more needed to be done to bring the siege on Tigray to an end.
I can say the international community has to know that the commitment of the people of Tigray, the commitment of the government of Tigray, and the commitment of the TPLF towards peace is permanent and unchanging yet. We have been talking and urging the international community, we need peace, and our difference must be solved peacefully. And the international community doesn't have a proper understanding about us. I feel that the international community understands what we have been saying so far and what we have been doing so far. Our our commitments are just proven practically in many ways and throughout the way. But the international community, I think, is not properly handling the government of Ethiopia. The government of Ethiopia seems like just a free rider, or it considers itself as oblivious to any international law. It has been working and going on its own way against the international law. But the international community has never been assuring that this is against the international law. It never forced Abiy or the Prosperity Party to abandon these illegal actions against the Tigray people. So, though it was not, according to international laws, though it was not considered as a precondition, or it is not as a precondition to anything. Humanitarian access is just humanitarian access to save lives. But Abiy takes this opportunity to maximize its own interests, to continue the genocide against the people of Tigray. And the response of the international community is, I think, unfair. Abiy committed genocidal war against us, even by inviting foreign invaders like Sha'biya or the government of Eritrea and some forces from the state of Somalia, and some technologies from the eastern sides of the Red Sea. All these forces come to Tigray and commit genocide. But the international community has been issuing many statements and many concerns, which still are welcome, but there is no practical solution. They should put practical measures against these invaders. They should put their forces against these governments if they really are willing and committing enough to save the people of Tigray, if they really are committed enough to say no to genocide, if they really are committed enough equally and fairly to say no the willful killing of innocent civilians in Tigray, if they are really committed enough to save the politically motivated rapes against the women of Tigray. So the international community, I don't think it's not a matter of understanding. I feel is all about the matter of commitment to put practical pressures and to put practical sanctions against the states.
Mekelle General Hospital, one of the oldest and largest hospitals in Tigray's capital, has announced that it will no longer be able to provide meal services to its patients due to the more than a year-long siege on the region that has denied the hospital access to its annual budget and essential medical supplies. The hospital said it had been able to maintain its meal services for in-house patients in the past year due to the support of local charity organizations, but can no longer manage to do so. For more, Salome Tigrai.
Magala General Hospital, one of the oldest and largest hospitals in the capital, has announced that it will no longer be able to provide meals for its patients. Chief Executive Director at the hospital, Dr. Filmon Mesfin, says that despite struggling to do so, the hospital had managed to continue to provide meals to its inpatients, but is no longer able to continue to do so.
Currently, we are in big trouble, which means that's not the only challenge, but top on the list currently exists the challenge of meal service for our patients and also for our staff. We were providing meal for the inpatient, for the admitted patients, and also some meal service for our on-duty staffs. But currently, there is no any internal revenue. There is nothing that the hospital is getting. There is no budget as of last year, which means we cannot provide the meal service for our patients and also for our staffs, which means we will be forced to close some of the services.
Magala General Hospital previously had the capacity of treating close to 250,000 patients a year. Now, more than a year after the start of the siege, the hospital is at a near total standstill, with very limited medical supplies and other essentials like fuel, telecommunication, or even a salary for its employees. The hospital services have been deteriorating by the day. Mulu Taghla Haymanut, coordinator for the meal services at the hospital, says that the hospital have been able to maintain meal services through the donation of multiple local charity organizations and emphasized that the meal service is especially needed for patients that traveled long distances to receive treatment at the hospital.
Multiple organizations helped us provide meals to our patients over the past year, but now we've been forced to stop. There are patients here from different parts of the country. Some are from away as Western Tigray or Southern Tigray. If we can't provide them with food, the medication alone can do little to help them. They have to have something to eat before they take their medication.
Emergency OPD Director and internist at the hospital, Dr. Tigrai says the lack of meal services, coupled with inadequate treatment due to lack of medical supplies, is likely to exacerbate the condition of patients at the health facility.
The impact of not providing food service for clients has an impact, a huge impact on the patients. As you know, there is no medicine, there is no adequate health instruments to provide the basic care. On top of that, everybody is hungry. There is no food. So on top of their disease, they are getting hungry also. So it will have a very huge impact on compromising the service in the hospital.
Further discussing the capacity of the health facility to provide adequate medical treatment, Dr. Filmon says health professionals at the hospital have been forced to operate without sanitary materials and says it's only a matter of time before the hospital is forced to close its doors.
Currently, we are in a very critical situation. We don't have any sanitary materials. We don't have any stationary materials in the hospital. Despite this, as I told you, we are still providing the service regardless of these challenges, but of course it's a matter of time before we collapse as a hospital.
Dr. Filmon lastly called on the international community to go beyond rhetorical condemnations and take decisive action to end the human suffering that is being caused as a result of the Ethiopia's blockade on Tigray.
I want to call upon the international community to act now, and to act now is the time. Otherwise, just giving us briefings and saying that we are concerned about the situation in Tigray is not going to help the people of Tigray. So this is the time for every concerned body in the international community, and they should act now before it's late.
A more than year-long siege on Tigray has included a blockade on food aid, medical supplies, and other essentials, including agricultural inputs for farmers in desperate need. As we're almost halfway through Tigray's primary planting season, between June and August. Fertilizers, pesticides, and seed grains are just some of the items Tigray farmers will have to do without during this planting season. For more, Haile Gabru.
The time started from June till August in Ethiopia marks the primary planting season that depend heavily on seasonal rain for their harvests. Over the past decades, agriculture production has shown a steady increase in Tigray, with farmers having improved access to agricultural inputs, such as fertilizers, seeds and pesticides. But the almost year-long siege on Tigray, in addition to blocking essentials such as food aid, medical supplies and commercial goods, has also seen agricultural inputs obstructed from reaching Tigrayan farmers. These farmers from the district of Inderta, near Tigray's capital, say they had delayed planting with hopes that some fertilizers would be able to reach them.
We planted late. We had hoped to get fertilizers or seeds before we started to plant. But now we have run out of options, so we have just started to plant without fertilizers. The fertilizers used to help us increase our harvest. This year we have left it all to God, and we don't have fertilizers or anything else. We have already planted, but that doesn't mean much if you don't have fertilizers.
But the ongoing siege on Tigray is not the only reason that farmers in Tigray are yet to receive much needed assistance. United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization FAO announced in late June that it was suffering from a budgetary shortfall of $85 million to support the needs of farmers in Tigray, to whom the Ethiopian government had provided a limited window of opportunity to deliver farming inputs, and warned that a failure to meet the needs of farmers in Tigray during this planting season would imply an even more catastrophic humanitarian situation that would even costlier to address. ጌታቸው ገብረ እግዚአብሔር, agricultural expert for the district's office for Agricultural and Rural Development, says it is expected that production will fall by as much as 70% due to the farmers' lack of access to essential inputs.
We have 30,570 hectares of farmland in this district, and we will need about 50,000 quintals of fertilizers to cover that amount of land, 3,000 quintals of seed grain, and 6,000 liters of varying types of pesticides. So we have no fertilizers and expect some 30 to 35% of the production to be consumed by insects, because farmers do not have pesticides to warm them off. Considering these varying factors, we expect production to fall by some 70%.
But this isn't the first time Tigrayan farmers have been hindered from farming. The deliberate and systematic attempts to obstruct farmers from planting was a well-documented phenomenon during the 8 months occupation of a greater portion of Tigray by the Ethiopian forces and their allies from Eritrea. International media and human rights groups have documented a systematic campaign by those forces to prevent farmers from plowing their land, including the destruction of farming equipment and seeds.
Tigray has been a hotspot for humanitarian and human rights concerns.
A deliberate campaign, including by people tasked with law enforcement, was preventing Tigrayans from farming.
We have been denied access to fertilizers so that the people of Tigray would starve, suffer, and die. We are at risk. We are hungry. We have nothing with which to fill our belly, and it will not be any better next year.
Gabru Gabriel is 82 years old. He's one of hundreds of thousands displaced from western Tigray. He says he left his home when Ethiopian forces along Eritrean soldiers came into their village and started to loot, kill, and torture Tigrayans. Gabru was separated from his family during this chaos and had to make the long and harrowing journey without any family members by his side. Winta Kirana had the details.
Gabru Gabriel is 82 years old and a father to 5 children. He left his village at Digoshu in western Tigray when the Fano, together with the Ethiopian forces, arrived in their village and started to beat, loot from, and chase away Tigrayans from the area. He says when all this first started, him and his family could hardly believe what was unfolding and would eventually separate during the chaos.
Abuse forces, Eritreans together with the Fano, came to our neighborhood in November of 2020 and chased us out of our village. Everyone was simply running to save their lives. We couldn't believe what was happening. We even left the door to our house unlocked because we were in such a hurry. I became separated with my family amidst this chaos.
After he became separated with his family, Gabru says he joined a group of other families traveling to Shirandaslasad in northwestern Tigray. He tells us the journey took 3 days, during which time him or his fellow travelers had nothing to eat.
I joined some people that were running towards Shire. They helped me escape the village, while the rest of my family, as I later learned, took the route to Tembin. We walked for 3 days to reach Shire. We had nothing to eat that whole time. We then went to Adwa. We found Eritrean forces there. They beat us and chased us away. We were also confused as we were running away that we fell down a cliff. It is horrible. I had a terrible wound after that.
Gabru says his journey was made more difficult by the loss of his eyeglasses that were essential for improving his eyesight.
I have had difficulty with my sight for some 5 years now, and my doctor prescribed eyeglasses that were very helpful. I left my glasses in my clothes back in my village. I didn't have them the entire journey. I had become a burden to others because of it. I still don't have my glasses.
Gabru would arrive to Mekelle on January of 2021. He says life isn't much better here. He says IDPs at the camp are both hungry and cold.
There is hunger and so much more here. Look at the house. There is nothing. We are barely surviving. There is almost no aid. It's only thanks to the people of Mekelle that we even have clothes. We need food. We have nothing. It is hard to tolerate the cold here. We are cold deep to our bones.
Almost 4 months into the humanitarian truce, millions of IDPs like Gabru are yet to receive any relief that should have never been denied.
Ria Imanwa is a mother of 4 who moved to Mekelle, Tigray's capital, from Humara in western Tigray, just months ahead of the conflict, hoping to open a restaurant here and expand her business. But soon after her arrival, Ria would get into a car accident that would result in her losing her arm. But she still had hope of working and supporting her family until the start of the siege that has blocked her from her saving and forcing her and her children to starve. Aragayo Garonkail reports.
Huria Iman is a resident of Mekelle and a mother to 3 children. She used to depend on her income from her cafeteria in Humara to support her children. And when she left Western Tigray, she had plans of using her savings to open her own restaurant until an unexpected accident forced her to change her plans.
I used to own a cafeteria in Humara and had a good life. I had plans for opening a restaurant here in Mekelle as well, but I lost my left arm in a car accident here in Mekelle.
Following the accident, Huria's wounds would take longer than expected to heal, so doctors started to do further testing and realized that she was diabetic.
The hospital realized I was diabetic after some time. They then did another surgery. I'm still under medical follow-up today.
Months of medical checkups would cost tens of thousands of per and depleted Huria's savings. Today she says she has reached a point where she has nothing to feed her children.
I sold my jewelry so I would have something to feed my children. I have nothing to give them now. They're only alive because of the charity of my neighbors. I have family and friends in other parts of the country and abroad, but how could they help me? There is no means of communication, and all the banks are closed.
Huria says the war on Tigray started just months into her accident, and today she is not able to find her medication. And when she is able to find it, it is available at an exorbitant price that she cannot afford.
I was under medical follow-up when the siege started, and so I couldn't get my medication. Once I had to stop taking my medication for some 2 months because I couldn't afford the ones in private pharmacies. I became so ill. My entire body was swollen.
Huria says things have become unbearably difficult, so difficult that she sometimes thinks of ending her life.
I become so stressed sometimes, especially when I see my children living in this condition. I even think of committing suicide. I'm only alive now because I'm worried about my children and what they would do without me.
The blockade on the vital services and supplies, including food aid, is devastating millions across the state. Families displaced from their homes, desperate and in dire need of assistance that seems unlikely to arrive.
And that's the news for now. Thank you for your company. Until next time, bye for now.